Turning struggle into power.
If you think all the important Black history happened in the South or in big cities, you've been lied to. South Jersey is hiding stories that deserve way more attention. Here are 5 towns with the most African-American historical sites in the state, some of which barely get talked about. Let's start with Cape May. Most people know it as a summer beach town, but in the 1800s, it was actually a safe haven for free Black residents and Black vacationers. Churches, civic leaders, and even early civil rights organizing happened right there by the water. Then there's Salem. This town played a role in the Underground Railroad and was home to one of New Jersey's oldest AME churches, which helped people escape slavery. It's a small town, but the legacy is deep. Next up is Camden. Beyond the headlines today, Camden has serious historical roots. Black churches there helped coordinate civil rights actions. And there are even reports that Harriet Tubman moved through the area. You won't hear that in school. Coming in at number 2 is Timbuktu. Yeah, it's a real place. Founded by formerly enslaved people in 1826, it was one of the earliest free Black communities in New Jersey. They didn't just survive, they defended themselves against slave catchers, right here in Jersey. And finally, Lawnside takes the top spot. It's the first Black self-governed town in New Jersey, and a major stop on the Underground Railroad. To this day, it remains a living piece of African-American history.
That's Camden, New Jersey, the city with the highest homelessness rate in the United States. Camden is a historic city located on the Delaware River in New Jersey. The city was established...
You don't stay in the trap. You learn from it. Every episode shows a different angle of that journey. Where you come from shapes how you think, the way you do things, the way you react, the way you receive information. It's all important to have a solid environment, because if you have a solid environment, you can do anything, and I mean anything, in this world. Where's the problem? Normally it's mentality, finances, emotional discord, loyalty, and pressure. With peer pressure, survival mode, everybody watching, nobody helping, you gotta find a way in order to create, to become your full self, and reach your ultimate potential. Desire to escape, level up, grinding, it's all important, because at the end of the day, we all have dreams and goals. And especially when you have a weak environment around you, you gotta get out. You gotta get to a new environment, a better environment, an environment that is totally invested in you. Growth becomes the main objective. Friends, other distractions become a back burner. So I'm from a place where there's not a lot of growth. Normally you see people, if they actually do have, a substantial way of living, they, normally have, a nice house, have a few kids, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, and, they're just able to pay their bills, maybe take a vacation once or twice a year, and, there's no real growth or no real chasing of aspirations and goals and dreams. There's no big thinking beyond that. The whole, mindset is build a family, build, solid income, working for, somebody, and it's just that. Normally you would see, people that make it, from the hood, like, Camden, and end up living in a place like Willingboro, Berlin County, where, I'm from, and, pretty much just feel like they made it. And even the people that, do chase their dreams or aspirations, they might make it, but, not a lot of people from the neighborhood supports. And it was something that I started to notice as I started to, get a little bit older, around 11 and 12. Once my mom had started to get sick, things started to really matter outside of, the day-to-day things that I had to do, because I had to care for my mom more than she could care for me. And even for my little sister at, points in time. So the whole thing about it is like, you see that, and then, have family members that, were still currently living in Camden at one point in time when I was younger, and I would be going over their house, and you would hear drive-bys, and reaction is, everybody duck. And then everybody, is back to normal watching TV, or the kids back to playing or whatever. So, just that mindset had a shift once I started to get older, once I started to, do things in school as far as like selling snacks for myself, just so that way I could, buy new sneakers like my mom used to do. The way of living just didn't seem right. It just seemed like there was more, especially when, I had an aunt that lived out in Chicago that was making, 5-6 figures a year, and, providing well and even helping, our family members out at times. So it was just like, with that seed being planted, I started to create my own big dreams. And as I got to the point where I wanted to start my own brand, Views of the Trap was the first thing that came to mind.
The only thing that really matters is you being able to take care of yourself, you being able to have the solid resources to grow, and having individuals in an environment that is only going to invest in you. You can't become a ruler thinking like a victim. Pain is the price of elevation. It's the starting point.
So, with the concept of Views of the Trap, it was more so me expressing my talents as a poet, in a sense. I tried to hone in on the mindset of, the young black male that may not have, much education, but his mind, is starting to get opened up to things outside of the neighborhood, more possibilities, more opportunities because of the gifts that they have. And, they're starting to tap into, even though they're stuck within the streets and, the trap that, is created in most black communities. And, you see in certain perspectives, different, people dealing with different things. Like, a struggling mom with 6 kids trying to feed all those kids without a father in the home, or the father, trapping, selling dope, just so that way he can feed those kids, and ends up going to jail for, almost life. And, just speaking on those situations, or, seeing people dead on the street, getting taken, in ambulances and things of that sort. 9-to-5 individual that's struggling just to pay their bills. All those things started to come, to fruition for me as an adult, and it was more so I wanted to create something that related to the public, something that they could gravitate to, but also, like I said, show my different gifts as far as with the poetry. That's why I created, the Views of the Trap book. Got it on ebook, audio book, and, a hard copy print. So, it's definitely available on all platforms, but we wanted to, start off with the poetry first, and then tap into the fashion. I know in the past few collections, I haven't really tapped more into the poetry, just because, as a new brand, you struggle with the, inconsistencies in sales and support. So I wanted to, start to create a community within the community, what I'm saying, that actually tapped in with what we're doing here, tapped in with the mindset of positivity and, visualizing your purpose and attacking your dreams and goals. And, that's where I created it from. The different art forms that you see, like Perception, From the Hood, and, other forms of art that I created. It's all abstract and surreal art, and, I was inspired by that, by, Jean-Miguel Basquiat, and his movement and what he created. So, I just wanted to have my set up art form placed into the world where people could gravitate to that type of art, but also, call it their own.
Most people stay in the trap because that's the only life they know. They haven't been off the front porch, and they haven't seen anything outside of what they know. Some build from it, and that's what you need. You need to build from your pain in order to gain the fire, the desire to achieve.